going on, guys? So today I'm going to be giving you guys a tour of my work area, my shop, my lab, so to speak. Now, some of you had mentioned, hey Gerry, you should do a room tour of your work area, your lab. And so I thought about it and I thought, okay, I'm going to go through and show you guys each of the stations, the areas where I work. And each section is sort of a designated station for and has a specific purpose. The place is definitely very crammed. I've had to relocate over the past couple of years. Things got a little crazy, work changed, and different things were happening working from home. So I had to relocate. Everything became very, very crammed. Just the downsizing and having to fit everything into a smaller storage space. So this room has sort of become part storage, part work area. I've tried to make it work as best I can, and so far it seems to be working. So I'm going to give you guys a little tour of each of the different sections. Hopefully you guys find it interesting. I've got lots of equipment and different pieces of development equipment that I'm still working on, or that I do have plans on getting up and running and then showing demos of that equipment in the future here on my channel. So why don't you guys come along and I'll show you each of those stations. Okay, so you guys don't normally see this because it's behind the door into my shop here. And so this is my Pneumatics compressor. And it's a DeWalt 200 PSI compressor, and that's just air pressure that's being used for robotics automation. So what I do there is I have the output from my compressor sent through one of these hoses, and that gets sent into this pressure regulator here on the front, and then I have that routed through to a series of what they call solenoid manifolds. And what that does is it allows the air pressure to be channeled through a series of different hoses based on a logic signal that's being sent, like a voltage from a computer or a different logic device. And those voltages get received on these cables here, and then that actually triggers a solenoid or a magnetic based valve that's being triggered to open and close. And so essentially you have computer controlled signals to open and close valves that will allow a mechanical pneumatic system to operate. So it's pretty cool. And that's sort of the basics of pneumatics. And that's used in robotics automation and different manufacturing automation in different factories, and that they use a lot of pneumatics for different mechanical motions and triggering different actuators. So it's pretty awesome. I found it really interesting, and that was what I went to school for and studied. So just to show you guys this solenoid manifold setup here, I've got one of the channels being routed through some hoses here, and that's hooked up to this piston here. This is about a meter long, pretty large. And what I've done is I've got it hooked up to this toggle switch here. I don't know if you can see that. And so when I activate this, it'll extend, and then when I disengage it, it'll retract. Now, sometimes when I'm hooking up these devices, you'll get air pressure. It will come out and get rerouted that way. So you get a lot of air pressure that's escaping from the system as it's running through one of the valves. But I can control that. That was just triggering one of the solenoid manifolds. And because I don't have a piston or one of the cables connected to an actuator, the air pressure is just escaping through one of those hose connections. So I'll just activate that and you guys will see this piston being driven here. There you can see that going. And it'll go right out the full meter length. And then if I disengage it, you can see it starts to retract. So it's pretty neat. Anyway, so that's used for different mechanical tasks if you're doing any kind of robotic automation, or it's used in manufacturing, that kind of thing. And anyway, so it's pretty neat how it all works. You can just disengage it like that. Anyway, pretty neat. So now a lot of the equipment that you're seeing here you don't normally see just because it's all off camera. And sort of behind the scenes stuff, this is a lot of the tripods and the lights, microphones. You can see the Lazy Susan table that I use there for all my 3D shots of the equipment. And I might do a more in-depth video on that part of it for all the recording gear that I use. And then the rest of my lab, I've got some equipment here. I've got a bunch of cables that I store on that pegboard. I also have my gym workout area here, so I have all my free weights, as well as a bench that I have in the back, surrounded by all my tools, my drill press, my vacuum unit there, and a lot of different tools in that. And then just tons and tons of shelving storage. I've got a lot of different gear there. And then I have my main workbench, and that's sort of my designated area where I do all my surface mount soldering. You can see the dissecting microscope there. And just a lot of all the different tools that I use. I have different multimeters in that on this side here. Here I've got a bunch of different test leads for testing and doing voltage tests. Continuity tests. At the back I've got a lot of just tie line wire, AWG30 usually. Now this board here, you guys will find this interesting. This is a Sega Game Gear audio development board. And this is an official Sega built unit. It's got the Sega logo there and a part number. And this belongs to Gaming Legends 64. I've got this unit on loan and I'm doing some testing and diagnostics. And I'm actually trying to compile some source code for the Z80 processor that's on board this unit. As you'll see here, I've got the unit hooked into a flip rack, and that's a unit that I use for doing testing on powered boards. So it's a really amazing unit, and it allows me to hook up my logic analyzer probes. As you can see here, I've got several of them. But you can see here it allows me to flip the board and giving me the underside axis or the backside axis to the PCBA and allowing me to do checks and you know, probe testing and whatnot with the logic analyzer probes. And as you can see here, I've got several of them hooked up to an IDC port as well as some probes hooked into some of the PAL logic devices there. And it allows me to do some really sophisticated tests. And again, I'm writing some code for this Z80 processor here, and should be pretty interesting if I can get things to start to work. And so I'm writing that code to interface to some of the parallel ports that are on the back side. Now, one thing that I'm actually planning on doing is interfacing a Sega Game Gear display screen onto this one side here. There's a specific IDC port that apparently had adapter boards, display boards that would interface to that IDC pin on the top corner there. Over on the right side of my bench, I've got my soldering area. This is my Weller soldering station with the digital temperature control. Now I also have my Hakko FR802 hot air rework station. Now I've also got my Pace ST115 desoldering station, and that comes in handy at different times. And so as you can see, the bench is really just scattered with a whole bunch of different testing probes. I've got my Tektronix interface probes here. This is for a pulse generator setup that I have as part of my TLA 7000 logic analyzer. This is a TLA 715 logic analyzer, and I've also got this TLA 7XM expansion box, which allows me to interface different modules for testing. So I've got my logic analyzer probes that I hook up and do logic tests, but I also have these pulse generator modules, and that allows me to interface multiple pods for having access to different signal formats and generating different signals for specific types of logic boards that I'm working on. So as you can see here, I have these P4070s, which are TTL and CMOS based signals, and I can generate specific patterns, logic patterns that I can use and interface to the boards that I'm working on. And so on this unit here, I've got 8 channels per module, And it allows you to do some really sophisticated logic tests when you're doing testing the unit with a logic analyzer, and then also having the pulse generator modules hooked into the same system. That becomes really, really powerful, and you can do some really sophisticated logic tests and to try and decipher what's going on with a specific board, and allowing you to do different development tests. So it's really, really amazing setup to have this logic analyzer and pulse generators all as part of one system. And then off to the right, I've got my pegboard with all of my tools laid out. This is all just for a lot of the mechanical stuff that I do if I'm working with robotics or different computer systems. I do have some precision screwdrivers there, some Kapton tape there that I use for doing hot air soldering work, and the rest of it is just sort of your average set of tools. Now this is a really cool unit here. This is a pneumatic set of wire strippers. So this is a wire stripper unit that I got for stripping different gauges of wires. As you can see here, if I can move the camera here, see there's 26, 24, 22, 20, 18, and it's mechanically activated by pneumatics. So as you can see here, you just activate this lever on the bottom, and that will engage the pneumatic pressure from the compressor, and then it will perform the mechanical stripping of the wire. And especially if you're doing a lot of this, it's a pretty handy unit to have. And on the rest of the test bench, I've got my Agilent 500 megahertz oscilloscope, and I've got some signals going through there from my signal generator. And it's a dual channel, and it's digital unit. It's pretty awesome. I've had it for a long time. I have this Agilent multimeter unit and an Agilent dual channel power supply. Now I also have a Tektronix AFG 3021 signal generator, and I use this all the time for generating tests, whether it be for analog audio purposes, or if I'm just doing some digital work and need some signals to enter into a system and then analyze those signals with my 500 megahertz oscilloscope. And again, I've got a couple of more of these pulse generator modules. These are the LV CMOS units, and a dim bulb tester. I don't know, for those of you that are into audio, vintage audio repair, you'll know what that dim bulb test is. And that's definitely used a lot. And just some other probes here for my logic analyzer unit. There's specifically for this 4-channel digital oscilloscope unit as part of this Tektronix TLA 7XM expansion unit. And those modules definitely come in handy. So that's pretty much my workbench area. And then off to the other side, I've got my computer programming section. But off to the side here, you can see I've got some cables that I use for storing different, whether it be pneumatics or for networking purposes for computers, or video cables, extension cords, DVI and VGA, HDMI cables, just about anything I have there. And down below that, I have my free weight rack. And so this is just where it's a multi-purpose location. I've got my weights and my bench over here for doing little short workouts after work, and do all that stuff over there. That's just the plumbing and whatnot as part of the house. And again, just tons and tons of storage. And I've got all this industrial shelving where I keep all of my gear. That's a cool Einstein photo that I got, and I installed a backlight to it. And so again, this is the area here, and I've got my bench on the left side, and then the weights in the center, and then around through in the back here on this side, I've got my computer programming area, as well as doing video editing and different tests that I do on computers and software, as well as video. So I've got these two stations here. These are Windows 98 and Windows 2000 PCs. And so I've got all different networking hubs and whatnot, different video connections. This PC here I use with Windows 2000. And I've got different monitors here that I use, a video monitor and a couple of monitors for those Windows 98 and Windows 2000 PCs where I do any kind of tests on software, or just, you know, if I'm writing batch files and whatnot for a system. These two monitors here I use for writing source code, and those are just sort of multi-purpose. I use those for any kind of PC that I want to hook up to. I've got a secondary keyboard here on an ARM that I use, and then I have my main programming area here with my laptop, a couple of monitors that I use for doing source code, and as well my mouse there, if you guys can see it, it's a Kensington Technologies Expert mouse. So I've had that for quite a while. It's pretty awesome. And then I don't know if you guys can see this, but off to the back I've got this really amazing USB interlink, a controller, and this is for hooking up to a simulator for doing radio-controlled hobby simulation and you know, flying airplanes and helicopters in sort of a PC-based simulator. Now this is an X-Keys programmable keyboard, and this is a really awesome little unit to have in my setup. I love having this unit. And I got this busted from my old work, and they were tossing it. Anyways, I grabbed it and was able to repair it and programmed it to perform all sorts of different functions. I use it to replace different icons on my desktops just to activate programs, but I can also use it to activate you know, different batch files, or I also use it for different programmable keys as part of an IDE when I'm writing source code. So I can patch in different, you know, sequences of code based on a keystroke for different purposes. So it's pretty handy to have. At the back here, I've got my Data.io Unisite Universal Programmer. This unit is a beast and is really amazing. It's from probably the 70s and 80s, and I think they were decommissioned in the late 90s, early 2000. This is a universal programmer that I use for programming all sorts of different memory devices, or CPLDs, FPGAs, flash chips, EEPROM chips, even GALs and PALs. It has the capability of programming various components in the thousands, really. It's just a beast of a machine, and is a really rugged, well-built unit from the 80s, 90s, and is just incredible. And I've had this unit for quite a while, and it's just a real workhorse for all the different memory devices or even logic devices that I program. So it's a real amazing asset to have. Now I've also got a lot of different robotics control systems and robotic arm units. A couple of robot controllers there, and over here you can see one of the robotic arm units I have. This is a Scorebot unit, and I believe this is an ER4. And I've had this for quite a while. It's sort of been out of commission for a long time, and I've been repairing it off and on, and do plan on incorporating this into some cool projects that I want to demo on my channel, and we'll eventually get to that. As you can see, the gripper there and all the timing belts. Another cool thing that I got, this is a CRS rotating base. And this unit has a little actuator there, and it rotates left and right based on a signal from a PC. And it has these shelving units here that mount onto the side of each of these linear bays here that they have. And they essentially provide multiple trays that will actually rotate based on the controller for the robot, and giving access to these little shelving units to the robotic arm unit. And so with the unit rotating left and right, you can have access to multiple trays and multiple shelves for different items. And so as you can see here, my idea is kind of an interesting thing that I'm thinking of trying with this robot and these tray setups. So it's sort of repurposing some medical robotic systems that I purchased a long time ago. So that could be pretty interesting and just sort of a fun project. And I also have tons of shelving that I've got storing all sorts of different development equipment, parts, electronics, hardware, robotics hardware, it's just sort of a chaotic mess right now just because it's so crammed. As you can see here, I've got one of my indie units, a tape backup unit, zip drive, some rare N64 development carts, some CIC dongles there. Got FPGAs and CPLDs, mass amounts there for storage. Some meaty components. I also have some robotic controllers there, another ScoreBot controller. This is a lot of different chargers that I have, and there is a LiDAR laser scanner. So this is a pretty cool little unit that I got. And down there is some more SN64 development systems, some stuff for 3DS, the PDev and the PTEL test unit, some more N64 development kits, partner systems, 3DS partner, sound tools, a blue PlayStation unit. And over here I've got my Hawk Pro, Century Hawk Pro radio-controlled helicopter. And this is a nitro gas-powered RC helicopter that I'm planning on building eventually. So that should be pretty cool. And that's relating to that remote you guys saw. This is my LMS 200 LiDAR scanner. And this is the box. I got a whole bunch of different parts here. Some joystick units here as part of Robotics. And here we go. This is the SICK LMS 200. Now this is a really cool laser scanner, and the plan with this unit is to do some 3D point cloud scans, and it can do some pretty sophisticated stuff, and I had thought it would be cool to incorporate that into a 3D game project of some sort. It's got a couple of RS-232 ports on the back, as well as RS-422, I believe. And you can do some pretty cool scans. And as you can see, the demo of this type of thing, a 3D point cloud, was done by a student named Daniel Florenti. And as you can see, it's under motorized control, and you can perform a 3D scan and then move around that environment digitally. So it's pretty awesome. I've also got some vintage high-end audio gear. I've got this as a mini disc unit, as well as a Tascam DAT recorder. And these are sort of the first digital cassettes that came out, and were pretty awesome. And the sound is really incredible, as well as the mini disc units. And now we're moving on to some dev gear. So that concludes today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It was just a quick and dirty tour of the work area that I have here, my shop, my lab. Again, for those of you that are interested in helping support the work that I'm doing here, definitely check out my supporters page. So the link is in the description. And what that does is it allows me to dedicate more of my time towards putting together quality content, all of these super in-depth videos for everyone to check out on Vintage Game Dev. So definitely check it out, and you can choose a tier that works best for you. And it, again, allows me to dedicate more of my time to produce content here on my channel. So hit the like and subscribe if you can. It's always appreciated, and we will see you in the next video. Take it easy. Ciao.